It makes me ridiculously happy to see that Mappa, even after having a studio change, has took it upon themselves to honor Wit's legacy and keep things like the title sequences the same or the infographics at the midway point of the episode. This still feels like a passion project, and this episode hopefully will clear up a lot of the misunderstanding that is intentional, where with the manga we had months to wait between each chapter to figure out why are we focusing on different characters, what's going on, where is Eren, and here we only have weeks to start figure out what's going on. And as I said with my last week's review, I will not spoil anything that's ahead of the anime. With the first episode being purposely misleading to have you confused, it was a little more difficult to dissect the actual story and narrative. But now with this week's episode, I can start dissecting it a lot easier and only use what's been laid out in the anime. So I think first things first, a good thing to really do is use the information that this episode gave us and recap where we currently are in this anime so everyone can be caught up on what I'm discussing. First things first. This happens after last season. Some people were confused about that. This does take years after Season 3, Part 2. So we're focusing on where Reiner came from. We're learning a lot about Marley, this place that is apparently pretty powerful. They have all the other titans. We're getting names like the Warhammer Titan. We're getting all this information, but at the same time, they were just fighting in a war with last week's episode. Different sections of the world are taking it upon themselves to challenge Marley's reign, Marley's rule over the world, and it's getting very clear that Titans aren't going to be the defining power forever, and once things like airships get to a certain point, Titans are no longer going to be the main weapon that will keep places like Marley in power. And once they lost the founding Titan, which Eren's father stole, ultimately ended up with Eren, it feels like they are completely hopeless without it. So, they've been, for many years now, trying to take that back. They've been sending ships towards Paradise Island, which is where Eren and his group is. But those ships never return. So, with Zeke only having a year left in his life in terms of being able to be the Beast Titan, it's up to him to try to send a group in to take back the founder and reclaim his own legacy, so to speak. That's basically where we're at. We're seeing that there's a character, Gabby, who is next in line to inherit the Armored Titan, but both Reiner as well as Falco don't want to see her with that fate because she'll only have so many years to live and will eventually have to do the same thing Reiner's doing, passing it along to the next person. If you care about people, you want to keep them in line and keep them intact so they won't casually toss away their life. You're going to be asking, well, where's Eren? Where's them? Why are they doing this? Both sides are in the middle of trying to figure out what's going on. The last time we saw Eren, he said, if we destroy our enemies across the ocean, we will be free. That's what he said. He was proclaiming himself to want to do it. And every time ships have been coming to Paradise, apparently they've been getting destroyed. We still haven't seen Eren, we still haven't seen his group, exactly what's happening with them. Instead, we're focusing on Reiner's side. Because it's very important to understand that the Eldians, the people who wear these armbands, who have the ability to turn into Titans, to inherit the Titan powers, are basically treated like slaves for this army, that they're basically not even considered human by most people's standards. That for most of these Eldians, they believe that the people in Paradise who lock themselves away are the devils, and they've been taught all these things to basically hate them because for us to live, for us to not be treated like cattle, we have to obey our masters. That's pretty much where we're at here. And we're seeing that the military is very much scared of what the future is going to look like. To have weapons that are almost able to destroy the Titans. We were focusing on a show that had maneuver gear and we had some decent weaponry, but Titans were a very big threat. For across the sea, Titans are almost getting destroyed by new guns and things like that. But they haven't reached the actual point in order to completely destroy their army. So if you can retake the Titans that you lost, we don't know what happened with Annie. Is she still locked away? Did they inherit Annie's power? We have the Founder Titan. We have all these different Titans that have been stolen from them. So their force is already weaker, with that force getting weaker by the day as technology advances. So by the army pretty much fearing the inevitable, but wanting to use their abilities while they still have it, reclaim their forgotten power, advance our own military so that we can still have this hold, while basically we're seeing people treated as slaves, having to wear these armbands and things like that. And we're getting very different perspectives as well, because think about Reiner as an example. He's come home, and when he's starting to explain things like the fact that, there was so many different people, he starts off by talking about Sasha and the potato, how she had no care. She said that she would give him half the potato, but she clearly had the bigger half, and how there's all these different types of people that he met. He's very much contemplating what he felt and what he saw in those people, because he was raised to think they are devils, which is why it was so easy for kids to crash down a wall in episode 1. But clearly he has doubts. Just look at how his aunt responded. They are all devils. There's not different people. They are the devils. Gabby is very much being influenced by this way of thinking. But for someone like Reiner, who does still believe in what he's doing, he's definitely having these doubts. And that's what I think is so interesting about the Attack on Titan story, is that rather than making it say good versus evil, basically, whichever side of the war you focus on, you could see how they could believe they're doing the right thing. And that's what's so important about this stage of the arc, is by flipping perspective around, which is a pretty bold choice. And for someone like Isayama, who releases his chapters monthly, I do remember quite a bit of people are like, oh, good handful, really interested, but other handfuls saying, where's Eren, where's this, where's that? And there's going to be a lot of speculation, there's going to be a lot of theories, the same way there was when people read the manga like myself. And that's what I love about it, is that it's so much bigger than just good versus evil. It's what is war? What are the tools of war? What will you do in order to protect your own? And that's what's so fascinating about this. And I'm actually very interested because, in my personal opinion, this is one of the best animated character animations that I've seen in Attack on Titan. Studio Wit had these great epic moments, but like most anime, there's minimal animation for general dialogue and talking scenes, because that's just how anime always is, it's a style. But MAP actually went above and beyond to do so much animation. There's moments where Gabby's talking and her hands are always moving. And while it is a bit floaty and you do have to get used to the amount of movement, I have to say I was impressed visually. I heard so many rumors about leaks. Oh, the first episode was actually the best animated episode. This is going to be a production mess. You'll really start to see what the anime is going to look like episode 2 onwards, which already smelled like bullshit to me because there's only select episodes that are going to be action heavy. So general talking like Studio Wit didn't bother me or make me scared in the slightest. But I was actually visually impressed with the animation in this week's episode. The amount of movement, it really did feel like that even when characters were talking, things were still happening. It wasn't static movements more often than not. The episode kicks off in a very Studio Wit fashion, but they quickly start doing a lot more things and making it feel like MAPPA is trying to do things a bit differently here, especially considering how different the story is narratively. I am still blown away by MAPPA's dedication here. It feels like a passion project, and luckily, a majority of people who watched last week's episode were okay with the animation. They actually either liked it or were accepting of it. So it says to me that a majority of the fan base are going to really appreciate MAPPA's direction and probably are going to be very interested in Isayama's narrative vision and what he's doing here, because this story is so complex and it's so much bigger than one set of eyes. And this is what makes Attack on Titan such a masterpiece in storytelling. I thought this was a great episode. I thought hearing the full ending song was beautiful, and there's so many symbolic images in that. There's so many hints and foreshadowing, and they even did another rearrange, similar to how Studio Wit did with Season 3, with how the idea that there was something I was expecting in this episode that clearly got pushed to either episode 3 or 4. And I like that. I like how they're rearranging it to make it feel like a better flow and structure, so it works best in the anime medium. This was an incredible episode. There's so much information being revealed, but the biggest and most important thing is showing that Titans aren't the defining power forever, and whoever takes hold of those Titans now are going to be the most free ones in the world. And I love that about this story. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts about this incredible episode, and everything that I mentioned is just stuff that has been revealed up until now. I will not ever go past what has been answered so far, and that's what makes this story so great, is even with everything I just said, there's still so much left to discuss. So I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts, whether it's manga fans, anime originals. Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.